Hey everybody, I'm Maddie and welcome back to Diaries of Farmhouse. So I just filmed my video about the ficus ruby. So if you haven't seen that already, go check it out. You can always come back to this video. If you're not interested, keep watching this video. Any support that you give me, I greatly appreciate. If you like my content, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. So I wanted to talk about some mistakes I made becoming a plant parent. So I have 6 here, but they're kind of broad topics. So, but it still might be kind of a quick video. So if you like quick videos, that's great. I like to talk a lot too though, so it could be a long video. Who knows? We'll see. So I want to talk about 6 mistakes I made when getting into plants. And these are mistakes that I still sometimes make. Number 1 being watering issues, which would be overwatering in particular. I am really good at overwatering my plants, so that is one of them. I'm going to just list them off really quick. The next one is overreacting to issues my plants have, and which led to overcorrecting. Repotting too often. Not researching the plants that I have or am getting. Not checking the roots or the overall plant health before buying plants from box stores. And then lastly would be going overboard buying plants. So those are my 6 mistakes that I made in the last couple of years trying to get into plants. I'm still growing my collection, and these are still mistakes that I sometimes make, but you know what, that's okay. So the first one is overwatering. So I still overwater my plants, which you guys know if you've been following me for a while now. I have gotten better at making sure I take the time to check the soil, check the plant, see if it actually needs water, research that plant to know if it needs water. But when I first started, I was just watering on like a set schedule. I was watering pretty much on a weekly basis. No matter what the plant was, it was all in the same amount. And I almost lost a lot of plants that way. So most definitely, I would say that was one of my biggest mistakes, was watering on a set schedule and not knowing how much water my plants actually needed. Also, I didn't pay much attention to like the pots they were in. If you watched my watering video, you know that pots make a huge difference in how often and how much you water your plants. So I would have plants in decorative pots that didn't have drainage holes. I would have them in decorative pots that weren't absorbing the excess moisture and were in fact keeping all the water in the soil, which was causing root rot issues. Pretty much everything you could think of, I did. And so that was one of my biggest mistakes, was watering too often and not keeping in mind where my plants were and what pots they were in. I also think that I didn't pay enough attention to the soil that they were in. So I was just potting everything in regular, like potting mix, Miracle Grow potting mix, which there's nothing wrong with that as long as that's what your plant needs. But I think it retained a lot of too much moisture for the amount of water I was giving my plants. So I was actually able to save a lot of them, but I also lost a lot of them, and a lot of them are now suffering from those mistakes I made. So yeah, that's that's my number 1 mistake I made. The next one would be overreacting and overcorrecting. So if I saw a plant with a yellow leaf, like of course you're gonna panic, because like, who wouldn't panic if you see a yellow leaf? Because it could be so many things. But my brain automatically went to, I've overwatered it. And so then I would overcorrect by uprooting that plant, checking the roots, treating the roots, cutting the roots back, you know, letting it dry out, that kind of stuff, which then traumatized the poor plant that really didn't need it in the first place. So a long time ago, I had this pothos. I inherited that. I mean, the vines went all the way around my room. And it started to get yellow leaves in little black spots, which I assumed were which I assumed were black spot or pests. I thought it had thrips, and I just went crazy, like treating this plant for pests, which I didn't even see, and uprooting this really root-bound pothos and disturbing the roots and looking for root rot, and it really didn't need it, which then led to me having to cut it back quite a bit. I still do have that pothos, it's in the other room, but yeah, that was one of my second biggest mistakes, is overreacting. And I still do that. Sometimes I have to remind myself, like, okay, plants get yellow leaves, plants lose leaves. It's not always a big deal. So yeah, that's the second big mistake that I made. The third one would be repotting too often. Like, I would go to the store and get plants and repot them right away, like that day, into a new pot, new soil, everything. But as I started collecting more plants and researching more and listening to more other YouTubers, I realized that, like, you don't want to do that, because you're taking a plant from a place where it has gotten the perfect atmosphere. It's had perfect lighting, it's had perfect watering, it's had perfect fertilization, it's had warmth, it's had humidity, and you're taking it straight home into an area where it's not going to have those things. So it's already traumatized from the change in environment. So then taking it home and repotting it right away just traumatizes the plant even more, because it's already trying to adjust to its new situation, and now you've disturbed the roots, and the roots are trying to recover. So that was one of my other mistakes. And when we're talking about repotting too, I also repotted plants into too big of pots, which then led to root issues, and I lost some plants that way, just because when you put them into a pot that's too big, they're not able to absorb all the moisture out of the soil, and that leads to root rot and your plant dying. So now a lot of my plants, I just leave them in the nursery containers. So like this little umbrelletta is still in its nursery pot, and same with this neon pothos. Now I just kind of leave them in their pots, and then I just leave them in there, and when they get root bound and I see roots coming out the bottom and it looks like they're ready to repot, then I will repot it into a pot that's like maybe an inch or two bigger, but no more than that. But that was definitely something that I think killed a lot of the plants that I was buying at the time. So my fourth mistake would be not researching the plants at the box stores and the condition they're in. Nothing on box stores, because a lot of times the people that are taking care of the houseplants in box stores are not trained for that, and they're doing the best they can. But a lot of times, plants from box stores are not the greatest. They've been overwatered, they've been traumatized, they've been packed so tightly that it's easy for pests to jump back and forth. And I really think that my fifth mistake would be not paying more attention to the condition of the plants that I was getting from these stores. Not saying it's not okay to get plants from these stores, I still do. But I'm a little more cautious in the ones that I pick, because I had a lot of plants, now looking back, that died, and I didn't know why, and I was doing everything perfect. And I'm realizing now that it was probably because they already had underlying problems when I got them, and then when I brought them home, the problem just continued to develop to the point where that plant died. So, for example, like if you get a plant from a box store, which I'm not even sure if I have any left. I think my calathea is one, my snake plants. A lot of the plants I have now are from actual like nurseries, and those ones are doing way better than the ones I got from box stores. So from now on, when I go to box stores, I check to see how wet the soil is, if they've been sitting in soil for a long time, if they have pests, if they have signs of root rot starting, yellowing leaves, black spots, anything like that. And if I see that, I will tend to stay away from those plants and maybe just not get any plants from that box store that day. So definitely a mistake I made, was not paying more attention to the plants I was getting from box stores. And then lastly, I think my sixth mistake would be going overboard on plants right away. So it's easy to get swept up in people's collections on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're looking at, Twitter. It's easy to get swept up in their plant rooms, and you want that luscious look. You want all of these plants. But I went a little crazy, and I got swept up in that, and I think that I should have taken my time building my collection because I was overwhelmed and I had not researched any of them, and I guess this is my fifth point, I just realized. But I didn't research any of them, and then I just had all these plants I didn't know anything about. I was watering them wrong, I was taking care of them wrong, and I ended up losing some of them. So I would say that if you're getting into collecting, to take your time. Like, you have so much time to collect plants and learn about them and enjoy your time with them, instead of rushing in to try to build a collection that looks Instagrammable, and then not knowing anything about them. So yeah, that would be a mistake I made. Don't get swept up in social media. And then lastly, I think one of my sixth mistake would be not researching the plants that I had. So I would just go and buy plants like willy-nilly. Kind of goes with the, like, going overboard buying plants. And I wouldn't research what I was going to get. I didn't think about where I was going to put it. And I still do that sometimes, like, because I want a plant and I'm not, and then I get home and I'm like, God, where am I going to put that? But I, even now, like, there's plants that I'm still working on researching that I bought a long time ago that I just bought to buy because they were trendy, they were cool, and then I had no idea how to take care of them. And so I would say make sure that you're researching your plants either before or while you're at the store, so that you can get to know where if you have a place for them, if you know you're going to be able to take care of them, and just, like, overall, if they're toxic, if they're not toxic. Obviously, if you have a dog or a cat or a kid or whatever that likes to eat plants, I mean, hopefully your kid's not eating your house plants, but that does sometimes happen when they're little. But you want to make sure that you have plants that are safe for them. So you don't want to just go buy stuff and then get home and realize that it's made a family member sick. So make sure that you're researching the plants that you're getting and their care and their characteristics. Okay, I think I've covered everything, and I don't think that was very long, but it was kind of nice to just be able to talk to you guys and talk about stuff that I've learned. So if you're making any of these mistakes, it's normal, and if you ask any houseplant person, the majority of them have had these mistakes happen to them, and you just have to, as discouraging as it is, you just have to kind of learn as you go. I'm still learning as I'm going. I still kill plants. I still have to try to save plants. And at the end of the day, this is your journey. And if you're making mistakes, don't feel bad, because it seems like people on Instagram or whatever aren't making those mistakes, because they have, and they are. So hopefully this video helped. If there's anything else that you want me to talk about or address, let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video and the other videos that I have, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can head over to my social media. You can head over to my Instagram, which is at maddplants, madd.plants, or you can check out our shop page at diariesoffarmhouse.shop. We'll be selling plants here soon in March. We've also opened a new home decor tab with pampas grass and rattan coasters right now, and then I hope to continue building that tab. And then also we sell pots, custom pots, and pet bandanas, stickers, everything you can think of. So if you want to, you can head over there. If you go to our website, www.diariesoffarmhouse.com, you can sign up for our newsletter, and that way you don't miss out on any new product launches, discounts, or when we're going to local farmer markets in Colorado. So thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me in this video. Have a blessed day.